Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to cruise a little smarter. I'm your host, Lake, but I won't be sticking around too long this episode because this is part 2 of Christy's cruise snippets, which I think have been totally awesome. So her snippets are really good, honestly, so we will not be doing like a full regular episode for her cruise because we already have 2 episodes here. We are going to do like a question and answer style for this cruise, so if you have questions about this sailing or anything about this sailing, please feel free to drop them into any of our social media or Instagram or Facebook posts. And then in the next few weeks, we will have a Q&A session kind of about this cruise to hit the couple things that Christy didn't get to touch on in these snippets. Otherwise, enjoy the show.
Hello from day 7.
Hello.
You know what's fun? This is a 12 nights cruise. So we have so many nights left.
So many nights. In fact, tonight I realized that we had one more stop that I'm like, oh, we only have 2 more stops. No, we have 3.
Right. And 2 sea days, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's fun.
So fun. Okay, so we are sailing back through the Arctic Circle. We were in Honningsvåg. Totally be saying that wrong today.
That's how I'd say it.
But we're going to go back in time because we left off on like day 5 or day 4. 5? Something.
5, yes.
Okay, so we left off in Flam. Here's the thing. We've been going to dinner. I read a book, an entire book during I finished it today, but I only had like 5 pages left. So if you want to know what we've done, I read a book.
Yeah.
Entire novel.
Because we had a sea day and we didn't do anything on that sea day. That was when we crossed the Arctic.
Yeah. So the end of Flam happened. We went to dinner. Like we probably showered. Oh, I got a haircut on board. That was nice. It was cheaper than my hair place in Florida.
Yep.
So I was like, and I need a haircut. So let's just do it. And then that was it.
They did the Arctic ceremony where it was like the whole thing about crossing the Arctic, and the officers and the captain and all that jumped in the pool.
Right. It was like
whole day.
Their own polar plunge.
Yeah.
And they had like a drink they were giving out. Can I just say that if you have the opportunity to do this cruise on Celebrity Cruises to the Arctic Circle in Norway, do it. And if you have the opportunity to look into booking it, it's amazing. It is
so amazing.
Exceeded every expectation I had for it.
Yeah. I thought it might be like Alaska, but just slightly different. But it's completely different. I mean, the scenery is very similar, but it's also very different.
It's not because they're fjords and there's no trees.
Yeah.
So like Alaska has all of these huge forests.
Yeah.
And like the island we were in today, Honningsvåg, had 0 trees.
Yeah.
Because the climate is not conducive. There was like one patch of trees at the port, basically, and like some trees that people put by their houses, like the regular pear tree you could find at home or whatever. But like,
yeah, she even said, the tour guide said there's one natural forest and it's like 20 trees. That's it.
I think that was the one we could see.
That was probably the one I think we could see, yeah. Reindeer everywhere.
So there's wild reindeer, and we say they're wild, but really they belong to the Sami people, which are like the indigenous, yeah, people.
They're like Inuits, they said, very, very similar to Northern Canadian Inuits, kind of similar style.
And they actually like mark the reindeer. So they bring them in, they check them. Every year it's like a whole big thing, and there's like 5,000 reindeer on this particular island, and they track them and they give them like a medical exam, and the babies they like put a tracker on. I think it's fascinating.
It's very cool.
And so this is a whole thing that they
migrate them north and south in these different seasons.
Yeah, they cross the water during one of the seasons. So anyway, let's go back in time though, because so we wake up and we're in Tromso, which is one of the Arctic Circle cities. Oh, and we had the sea day, where we talked about. We did the crossing.
Circle, yeah. Which not much happened that day. I mean, you got your hair cut. We did the crossing, but we kind of lazed a bit.
I read that book. Read the book. Which means everybody else did their own thing. I will say that Blake is continuing to love the kids club. Mm-hmm. He's there right now. It's after dinner. And he has been going and staying until 10 o'clock every night. And like today, he's like, I'll be gone till 10. I'll be back at 10. Yesterday, we tried to get him here earlier. He had to take a bath, which I think turned into a shower. But he has been having the most fun. And I just think it's great. I love it.
Yeah.
Did he go before dinner?
He did. He did a little bit.
Oh, right. And then he got kicked out.
Yep. And they got kicked out at 5 because they shut down for dinner time. But it's weird because we're all feeling the effects, which they said that people do, of the midnight sun, where we are now in the time frame in the Arctic where the sun never actually goes below the horizon. And so you look outside and you're like, it feels like it could be 6 p.m. and it's actually like 11 p.m.
Yeah, like the one day I was up till 1 reading my book because I read a book in a day and a half or 2 days or whatever. And so I actually posted a picture of the midnight sun and it's still like broad daylight and the pictures don't even do it justice. And if I could open up the sliding door, the balcony door here and go out, but you can't because it makes the most noise ever and Blake's face is right next to it. So the best I can do is squeak the camera out behind the curtain. But it's fascinating. And the blackout curtains aren't so blackouty here. And so the light just all comes in. But it's so cool and worth it. So very cool. And that's just like Alaska. So like if you go to Alaska in June 20th is there, or 21st, whatever it is, the solstice, is there midnight sun. But it's not to the same extent. Like it does get dark there. But it's light for months above the Arctic Circle. And it's fascinating. And I just can't stop like looking at it. Yeah. Tonight's a little cloudy, so we don't get the same effect as it being sunny all the time. But the scenery is amazing. So like I was saying, how it's a little bit different than Alaska. It's these big fjords and cutouts, and they're just mountainous regions that are everywhere. Like right now we're further away and we're in the open sea, but it's still in the background. It's like going through the Inside Passage, but all better.
The time and better.
And yeah, it's so good. I hope more people can experience it. So Norway as a whole, which we've been to one like regular Norway port, and then we have 3 more coming up, is great. But this Arctic Circle experience has been amazing. Even better. Okay, so let's talk quickly about Tromso. So Tromso, you come in and you're like a bus ride into the city center. And I will say that the bus ride into the city center was like super backed up when we first arrived in port. We were able to go around, like our shuttle bus for our tour just picked us up and took us. So
I think the captain said it was because there's just so few buses.
Like they have to bring buses from other cities and other areas, which there's not really cities. So they have to like bring the buses in just to deal with the cruise traffic.
Yeah. So if you're getting off, you either want to be really, really early
or wait a bit.
Probably just wait a bit and then let the crowds clear out. But yeah, the tour, we were able to go right around onto the bus.
But that was the best part of the tour. I will say, so our tour was Husky Camp and like Polaris, which everybody went to Polaris, it seemed, from Celebrity, which is the aquarium. It was kind of garbage and the whole tour just wasn't that good. The best part of the tour to me was the drive into in and out of town and on this bus. And hearing the guide like share his experiences and looking out and looking around, and because you're in the scenery, this Arctic scenery is
just so amazing.
Wild. It's like There's no trees. There's craters, it seems like, everywhere.
Sometimes it's like you're looking at, you're on the moon. I mean, it's very crazy.
Yeah, and even one of the guides even used that as a reference or as a description or whatever. And it is like that. And so, but that's where we also saw our first set of wild reindeer.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was exciting. But the tour itself was not great.
Yeah. I mean, some of the beauty or the fun of it was our boy just getting so excited about the huskies.
Yeah, that was cute.
And so the camp itself was really neat.
It was fine. And the camp itself was fine.
It was fine.
Except it was a very expensive tour.
And it was very quick.
And it was quick. And I would have preferred there was a tour with a nature walk. And I feel like at one point we were signed up for it. But the issue is they recommended hiking boots. None of us had hiking boots. We only have hiking shoes. And I was concerned about it being muddy and mucky and too wet. And I think it would have been because the ground was wet.
Yeah.
So I think we would have needed the hiking shoes and that would have made the experience better. I think like some other people booked some stuff like this privately and maybe that would have been better.
Yeah.
But I would say that tour was it was a waste.
Yeah.
Going to the aquarium, which the aquarium was like, I can't
Very
think of a good example, but the seas is way larger at Epcot.
Like I would say
way
triple the
larger.
size at least.
There were seals, which were really cool at the aquarium.
And then just a lot of fish.
But that was it. There was nothing in even the exhibits. So, but you didn't have a choice. Oh, and then they made you like watch this movie and they made you wait on the bus while people came in. And the issue with all of that is we could have done without all of that. We could have gone to the town, but we honestly didn't have enough time. And with like the meal, like we needed to eat when we came back with these meal options and like getting ready for dinner, which I don't even think we got ready for dinner. We didn't have enough time, but like, if we could have avoided that and just gone to the Husky farm and done all that, that would have been so much better. It was such a waste to go to this aquarium.
Yeah.
That they charged so much money too to get. I was so disappointed.
It was very bizarre.
And like they forced you to watch this video, which was like,
it wasn't even a movie. It was basically pictures of. It was like video of wildlife with music playing, and that was it. And it was just cycling through this.
And while it was fine, it was a lot. Some of the animals weren't even indigenous to the places we were going.
Yeah,
it didn't make any sense. Again, I was so disappointed in that part of the tour, and the waiting. Like the first hour was such a waste when we could have been going to the town.
Yeah.
And then because of the way of like traffic patterns or whatever, and the way in and out of town, we didn't get to be dropped off in town. So we would have had to like wait for a bus, of which there was none when we arrived, to go into town. So we didn't get to like go into town again.
Plus it was raining and we'd forgotten our raincoats.
No, we had our raincoats that day. That was in plan.
That's right.
We didn't have raincoats.
That's right.
But there was no bus present.
There was no.
And we needed to eat dinner.
No easy way to get there.
We were already late. Like all of our tours have been late.
Yeah.
Also. So.
The one good part I would say, or the one good tip is, I know one of the things that you were worried about at the Huskies was like, they're going to jump on you and they're going to get you muddy and get you slobbery. And, it's just, if you don't.
And some people were jumped on.
Right. And if you don't want that experience, the nice thing was you sort of had the ability to control how much you were engaging with the animals.
And I could see like there was like this little puppy bin and the puppy bin was cute. And I could see the puppy bin. Oh, and there was a mama and her babies. Oh, and that mama was protective of her babies. That was adorable. But I didn't have to go into the regular dog area, like the pen of all the animals, all the dogs. And like Blake was able to come out unscathed. I was actually surprised because I would see all these people come out super muddy, but you guys weren't.
Well, and to his credit, what he did, he gets a little nervous if they're too jumpy or they're too growly. And they were barking and they were active, but their tails were wagging the whole time. Like they were, like the guide said, oh, no, they're being very friendly. So anytime they would start to jump, he would just back off.
Yeah.
So he actually kept himself out of it too. Like I said, you have control over how much you're going to get jumped on.
Which is good. And like the place was cute. They had like fire pits. They
did a demonstration of
sled dogs.
So it was cool.
They discussed the process.
It just
They discussed
overall,
the dogs and like why they're not the huskies that you sort of think of, American Husky, and why there are these other husky dogs, which you see in Alaska as well. And you're just like, wait, this isn't what I expect. And it's so they explain how they can run more and all these things, like great information.
Mm-hmm.
So that part was great. And the camp itself was very cute. But
I just think end to end
aquarium, it was
wasn't
not
really worth
worth
the
it.
money that we paid.
I want to say we paid $700 or something
Yeah.
for that ship excursion, and it was not worth it. So anyway, but today, y'all, this was my Disney training in action, because the first minute I went and looked for excursions, there was one called Bird Safari, and this was in Honningsvåg. And I was like, my son needs to do this excursion. And I could only get 2 spots. And I was like, but we have to do this excursion. And so I just booked 2. Dave, I was going to send off to the North Cape. And just because I was like, we're here. And when are we going to the Arctic Circle? Although I would come back to this itinerary in a heartbeat. But I felt like he needed to do something. And then I like searched and searched and searched the celebrity website over and over and over again to look for one more space on the bird safari. We were able to get it. It was amazing.
Awesome.
This one was one of the more expensive excursions as well. It was never really on sale, because if you're going to book celebrity, you can actually book the excursions on sale. You can cancel and rebook when they do these sales. I don't think this one ever went on sale. If anything, maybe we saved 10% once, but I don't know that it ever dropped below 5%. It was like sold out almost the entire time. I eventually got a spot for Dave, and I was able to cancel his North Cape excursion and put him, which we got to see the North Cape a couple of different spots. So I don't know that he needed to go and do the excursion. But like,
we even got a close up as we were leaving. The captain did a 360, but we'll get to that later. But that was, I mean, we got to see it. So it was like, yeah, I got the experience, I feel like.
And the drive out was incredible. We saw a bunch of baby reindeer. We got to learn about how the babies have like a lighter or have a brown fur, and the parents still had like
their winter coats.
I think they were all women, but it doesn't matter. But they had their winter coats on still because it was still
and
cold.
They lose their antlers when they have a baby.
Yeah, like
still
so
don't quite
random.
understand why, but they said, if you don't see the antlers, it's because they've had the baby and blah, blah, blah.
And it's hard to know if like the breeds were a little bit different than in Tromso, because in Tromso, they were all brown already.
Right.
But they were white if they were the parents, but the babies were brown. And so 2 different ports with maybe different weather, because there was a lot more snow. Yeah. There was a lot less trees here in Honningsvåg, and it was like, it almost looked, would it be arid? Is that the right word?
Mm-hmm.
It just was like crazy, because it was just like a bunch of rock everywhere, and the most beautiful water, and like crystal clear, like you said, you could see through it. It had all the different like minerals or whatever, because they had different coloration at time. I loved this port. I loved our bird safari.
Oh, yeah.
I loved our guide. These are like people that were just excited about what they were doing. The captain of the boat was like giving us tons of information.
Super knowledgeable with all the birds.
Not the nicest man, but
but
pleasant enough.
He's a Norwegian person that lives in a fishing village of 80 people.
Yeah.
So,
No, I don't think it had 80 whole people anymore. I think maybe. I felt like it was 80, less.
But then where she's like, at one point it went way more than that, to like 150 people
or something.
Like,
yeah.
Well, okay. But it was really cool. It was like a mom and pop shop, basically. They said it was a family run tour guide, and they took us out on their boat to this seabird island, and there was like 4 or 5 different breeds of bird that we saw.
If that,
puffins,
more than that, maybe. The puffins were adorable,
and sea eagles, and it was very amazing.
It was so cool, and like it seemed like the captain was excited about seeing the different birds doing stuff. The people, it was so great. And let me point out, that the stuffed animals that they sold were like from Europe, as opposed to the
From
one at
China.
the dumb aquarium yesterday that we were forced to go to was from China. Not yesterday. Was it the day before?
Yeah, it was
Was it
yesterday.
yesterday?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was yesterday.
So, just made me bitter that they were. And the company that the aquarium place was from, or the aquarium sourced was from Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And then they got their animals from China. And I told Blake, we're 100% not buying anything that is coming from China, sourced from Ohio, while we're in Norway. That is not happening.
Exactly.
I'm very passionate about how much I disliked the Tromso experience and how disappointed I was that I didn't get to go to the town. Okay, so then we just had today. Like, we had our excursion. We came back and had lunch. I took the best nap ever.
Best nap.
And then we got to leave, and the captain did like a circle around the North Cape. We got to see whales.
And there were dolphins
one whale,
apparently.
at least, maybe a couple whales. One whale.
At least one.
Yeah,
There could have been
there
more.
was like a pod of dolphins, but we didn't get to see those. And like the captain was excited, and I think that's one of the things that I am loving even more about this trip is that our captain is so excited. He gives these announcements and he like yells at us basically, but he's like so enthusiastic about it.
Yeah.
I love it. And it's just every time you look out the window, it's more gorgeous than like the last time you looked out the window practically. It just, I'm loving this so much. All right. And then once again, we've talked forever.
Yep. But it's just so much to share.
We are going to we have a recording of the captain being very excited about how far north we were. So
everything is like the most northernest point. So we've been to the most northernest point of Europe. We saw the most
Mainland
northern
Europe or
school that ever existed. It's like, we see the most northern everything.
Yeah. So we did the crossing where he like brought us to basically the most northern part of the longitude and latitude that we could get to. It's just been good.
Yeah. It's been amazing.
Now I'm going to start a new book.
Yeah. I started a new book.
And I'm just going to keep staring at the amazing,
beautiful
like,
scenery.
Fjord cut out. It doesn't photograph all that well either, but it's such a cool landscape.
It's like less green than Alaska, but it's almost even more beautiful because of what it looks like.
Right.
It's incredible.
It's like clear that it was just land that was together and broke apart because of.
Well, and then the history, like, because they keep talking about how like the Sami people came, like almost they said they don't really know for sure, but they're thinking 7,000 years
Vikings
ago,
or whatever.
and then the Vikings were like from about 600 or 700. And we're sitting there thinking, okay, U.S. is what, 250 years old?
That's insane.
It's like crazy. Like, they updated this recently, like around 400 years ago, and we're like, we weren't even a country,
right?
So it's very crazy,
and that everybody knows what their past is and their heritage is, and you go to the bar and they all know, and
it's like, the Sami, we're the Finns, we're the Swedes, we're the whatevers. It's amazing.
Yeah. All right. I hope you're liking this. Again, if you're a Patreon and you're hearing these during our trip, if you have any questions, post them in the post and we'll look to answer them. Bye, everyone. Hello again.
Hello.
So we are like on day 10.
Yep.
Which is sad.
It's very sad. There's a couple more days left.
I mean, it's been amazing.
I
love a 12-night cruise.
Yes, me too.
Felt like that was preceded by some days in London, and we have another day. And this is exciting. It makes me excited for next year when we have a super long trip to Europe again in June. So it's going to be like dramatically different temperatures.
Very different.
This has been cold.
It's been very cold, although weird because like we came south today on day 10 and it's much
yesterday
warmer.
Too.
Yeah, it's much warmer, but
like significantly warmer.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go back in time. We had the Arctic Circle crossing, which was day 9. And no,
Day 8. Day 8.
And
it was a sea day.
We didn't do much on this day, but what we did do was go to the volleyball game for the officers versus the guests. So they had the guests do a game, and then they did a game like versus. So the guests had to like qualify or whatever. And then they did a game against the officers. So that was fun to like cheer them on. It was freezing.
Yeah. And they brought around hot chocolate though.
Yeah, they brought around hot chocolate and then some other drinks, although I think the other drinks had a charge. I don't know, because we have drinks. But that existed. And then
that morning we did the theater tour.
Oh, yeah.
That was really cool.
Okay, and I want to make sure we don't forget to talk about the weather. So I'm going to talk about the weather really quick first. And the nighttime. So that Arctic day, it was also light basically all day again. And then now, though, the sun sets at 11:30, now that we're more in regular parts of Norway, southern Norway. And it rises at like 3:30 or 3:48 or something, which is, it's just so wild to me.
4 hours of darkness.
And I feel like the first part of the trip, though, it wasn't that dark for that long. I don't know. We didn't pay as much attention to what hours they told us the sun was setting and not setting. But anyway, we got to do a theater tour, which we did as part of our Celebrity Captains Club, so repeat cruiser program. And it was on the list as something that was offered for the repeat cruisers. And we called the first day to add us to the list. And then they said we were added.
Yep.
And that was it. It was great. Blake went. They had opportunities to ask questions. They basically had the director of theater, like the director.
He was like the director of the theater production, I think.
Yeah. And then
they had a dancer and the aerialist.
And the aerialist is like the Cirque show people. And they were great too. Like They didn't say much, but what they said was great. And then, so they did some question and answer. They just talked about general stuff with the shows. And then they brought us onto the stage and they showed us how things change or move, like what parts of the stage moves. Celebrity has like a circular stage situation on these Edge class ships. So they talked about that. And then they brought us back into the backstage. It was very short. Like the whole thing was only 40 minutes, maybe. It was supposed to be 30 because they were like, we have a show, but they really gave us an extra 10 or 15 minutes. But they like showed us a bunch of stuff. We got to see how they like packed stuff in. And we also got to see they were getting ready for a matinee show and they had to move the piano from the lower level of the theater, which is just their storage area and where people like pop out of. And we got to see them raise the piano, and that was super fun. Then there was like a technical director there actually like raising the piano and making sure other things were done. He agreed to come on the podcast, and because he answered so many questions, he was so great. But I have to get permission from the cruise director, and I'm yet to get that permission. I have made a note to ask tomorrow to follow up because I really want it to happen. And I would say the cruise director is not my favorite.
No, he doesn't come off as a cruise director for one. He doesn't have that same personality.
No, the captain has 1,000% more personality than the cruise director. It's fine. He must be good because he has the job, but anyway.
I get the sense he's a planner, not a cheerleader, you know?
Yeah, he's not a cheerleader.
No.
He's not good at it if he is. He's only been on a couple of weeks. They had the President's Cruise a couple of weeks ago, and that cruise director seemed amazing. And this one seems opposite.
Yeah.
I don't want to be mean to poor Rich, but also he's not that good. Okay, so then that was it for that sea day. I don't know. I took a nap, and who knows what else happened on that day. Maybe we read more, but we literally did nothing.
Yeah.
So then yesterday, we were in Geiranger. The first thing we did is I signed us up for a rib boat tour, which we could have done through Celebrity, and we were actually booked on that through Celebrity at one point. but they changed the times of the port, and then they changed the time of our tour, and we weren't going to have enough time to do the rib boat and our second tour. And then it turned out that I saved like $100 by just booking it privately. And I feel like sometimes you could book privately and you save a bunch of money, and sometimes it's basically the same price. This particular one, it was literally the same tour. And I don't even know what would have happened. Somebody from the tour company would have walked us to the building, but we walked ourselves to the building. Oh, and what we also saw, I'm going back in time on the Arctic Circle Day, is we saw a whale.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So that was super fun.
There were also people said they spotted dolphins. We saw just the whale, but yeah, that was very cool.
That was super cool. So whale in the wild. We were hoping it would do a whole thing. And in this port that we're leaving from today, Alesund, apparently there are orcas sometimes, but we didn't.
Yeah. They said early in the season for the orcas, but
or late in the season.
Whichever end you're going from.
They're by the coast apparently. But
we see a coast.
But
why don't we see whales?
No orcas. So we're going to keep looking. We just keep looking. Okay, so back to the rib boat. You literally walk out of the ship, which in Geiranger, it's a floating dock. So you walk off this floating dock and, I don't know, walk another 100 meters, I think it said, and you get to the building. There are several companies. We did Rib Fjord, I believe. You can reach out to me if you want to know what company we used. I liked the company. You have to wear, it's funny. So they have you wear these like snowsuits.
Snowsuits out, yeah.
If you will. It ended up being really warm on our Geiranger day. And we heard people that went later actually didn't have to wear the snowsuit. They could just wear the life vest. But you go pretty fast and it is cold.
Yeah.
So that's why they put you in this. It's not really a snowsuit, but whatever it is, it's like
one of those like deep sea fishing suits you might imagine someone wears.
Yeah. So we were in that and it would be hot, like going out. But then once we got going, it was kind of cold. Yeah. So I could see.
I felt it was very comfortable when they were going. Yes. But it was very cool.
It was great. It was like 40 minutes maybe on the boat, maybe 30.
Yeah.
But the whole tour says it's an hour, and that includes like the 10 minutes or whatever to get onto the boat and to get dressed. We were with a great group of people that were mostly traveling together.
Yep.
I think there was 12 people per boat, and I highly recommend it. It was great. And I want to say for the three of us, it was like $200.
Yeah.
And then we had a second tour.
Well, first we walked around a little bit.
Yeah, we walked around.
We had about an hour, I think, between the tours. And so we walked around a little bit. It's like you're kind of right there. And there's all these little shops and restaurants and things. And so we did that for a little bit. I got a tart. Blake got a little ice cream cone.
I went back to the ship to drop stuff off.
Yeah.
And then, which was a good thing, because what would we have done with the purchases?
Right.
Because our bus left.
Yeah.
But then I signed us up for a hike. Y'all.
Read the descriptions, please.
we're not fitness enough to do this hike. I mean, we did it. We didn't die.
We did it.
But literally the words were, we didn't die because somehow we didn't die, but also we're still so sore.
Yes.
Okay, but this particular hike apparently said strenuous hike. And I, first of all, thought our next hike that we had planned was the strenuous one, and this one was not. It was like to the Westeros Hotel. It starts there, and then it goes up to the S something waterfall. And I know Adventures by Disney stops here, which is part of the reason I signed up for it. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. This hike. This was a
very cool environment and scenery, but getting there.
You're just climbing.
You are.
And then you're going down. So you're climbing up. It was, according to my Garmin, 1,000 meters of elevation that you climbed. You started at 1,500. You ended at 2,500. And then you walk down even to get to the waterfall. This was like not sanctioned by anything in the United States ever.
No.
Because the lawyers, this
There was slippery wetness, and all you had was this little change. There was one point where the rock was like overhanging you, so you had to crouch. Like Blake even had to crouch down a bit to get down there.
And then it was slippery,
over slippery rocks.
and it wasn't like wide enough for all the people.
And the only way to face is down towards your doom, where you're looking over the ledge, and you can see where you could fall to. So, but then you're there, and you got this. You're behind a waterfall.
Yeah, and it's very cool.
It was amazing.
You know, when I do run fitness, when I do run Disney, I miss a lot because I'm just focused on not dying or doing my running and whatever. And I feel like a little bit of this hike was the same. I missed some of the beautiful overlooks because I was
focusing on your steps and
focused on the steps,
not slipping.
And like some of these steps up and steps down were huge. like my entire calf.
And uneven terrain because it was like one slate rock to another slate rock, and they're not always even. And so you're going up a huge step, as well as then your foot is trying to give out from under you. And it definitely was not, it was strenuous, was definitely the right phrasing for it.
Yeah. So we did it.
We didn't die. And I think there were a couple funny moments. One was when the guide took us, we got on a bus, and they took us maybe about a 10-minute ride. And we got out and we walked, and we were walking for quite a while. And
it was like 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah. And we got to this little restaurant, and I think you said to him, was like, oh, this is like maybe halfway or whatever. And he's like, well, we're going to take a rest here. Then we're going to start. I'm sorry, we're going to start. So that was the starting point.
Which was still,
you had to
it was like an uphill hike
to get to the starting point.
The bus had to drop us down at the bottom of the hill, and we had to walk to the top of the hill to go for that.
And he was just like, oh, no, it's no big deal. The other funny moment was when we were lined up for the bus, and there was the Viking ship, and there was us, and there were two tour number 8s, one for us, one for Viking. And we're standing there, and this little old lady with her walker comes up and stands right next to us, and she's in line. And we're
like, we're on a hike.
Yeah, we're looking at her because we don't know at this point what it's going to be, but we know it's a hike. And so we're looking at her kind of questioning, but we didn't say anything. And the little tour lady is kind of organizing. And
there was a lot. It was chaos.
Yes, major chaos.
All the other tour days.
And our guide was late, and so she was trying to figure it out. And then you could see visibly on her face, it dawned on her that there's an old lady with a walker standing in front of her. And she just looks at her, she goes, are you going on a hike? Just the incredulity in her voice said everything.
I wish we were recording it. If I had known, I would have recorded it because it was the best part of the whole.
And I seem to think that the old lady was like, oh no. And then we realized, no, she had the other tour number 8 from Viking.
Yeah, because we had watched a bunch of people going to this other tour 8. So anyway, we were in the front of the line, so we pushed people off to the other.
I mean, I'm glad we did it.
I am too.
It was an experience.
And God, I was so tired yesterday.
I think if we'd known what it was like, we probably wouldn't have. And
never.
I'm glad we didn't. We kind of went into it blind because then it was like, it became an experience. And as Blake then said, with Norway, you can say that everything's either the furthest north, or you can add the words of doom to it. And he kept saying that on the mountain pass.
Yeah. So we climbed a mountain. We did that.
Yeah.
We did fitness. And we didn't die.
We did not die. We thought we might several times, but we did not die. Okay,
so tomorrow we have a hike. And I was like, what? How do we ever hike ever again for the rest of our life? But tomorrow's hike is labeled as moderate. Now, this excursion we did today, which we'll talk about in a minute, was also labeled as moderate. And you literally walked from one building to the next and up the flight of stairs to the bus, which that bus had very high stairs today.
High stairs.
It was a very nice bus. It had very high stairs. So we asked the lady so we'll report back and see what it's like. But we're like, we did this.
Hike. It's like 5 hours.
Yeah, we have to pack a lunch. We're packing a lunch, people. So we asked about the hike tomorrow because I was like, I can't do this. I can't do what we just did again. That I could lose all my money and that would be fine. And then it also, at some point, we thought it was going to be rainy tomorrow, which it looks like and then I could imagine, could you have done like a slippery? If the whole path was slippery, there's no way. Because some of the steps I took, I needed Dave's help to like step down just to help with my balance and all of that. So there would be no way.
No way.
But she's like, no, it's like mostly it's flatter. But the description talks about not being flat. We'll report back. But it's not supposed to rain. So fingers crossed that happens. And it's supposed to be flatter. So hopefully we don't die.
So far, knock on wood, we've had great weather.
Yeah,
it was gorgeous today. It was beautiful for when we did the near death experience yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, we died of heat. Yes. Maybe we were so hot and so you were
sweaty.
We were so thirsty too. By the time, like, we drank every bit of water that we had with us on our hike, and we got back to dinner, and they could not fill our glasses fast enough. We went right disgustingly dirty.
Oh, but real good tip, because I don't know why you and Blake, maybe because you thought it would be cold or whatever, but I wore my tearaway pants, my zip away pants
yeah, that
became shorts. That was key. Just zipped away my bottom parts and I had shorts, and I was living large.
Maybe we should do that tomorrow. It's gonna be cooler, but by the time you hike for 4 hours, maybe that's not such a bad thing. Okay, so today and let me just also say, we've done nothing in the evening on this ship. Today we did a little bit of video poker, and we walked around and we listened to music in public one night, Dave and I, but we were both like, we could be reading our book in our pajamas in bed. And I think that's what we chose to do. Blake has been at the kids club almost every night. Well, I think he has been every night.
Yeah. And
even last night he went for a tiny bit, but we made him come back early because we were so tired.
Yeah, when we made him come back early, he's closed it out every night.
Kids club closes at 10 on Celebrity. You can pay to have your kids go extra if you need them past 10, but obviously at 10 o'clock he can just come back to the room by himself, which is what he's been doing. So today our tour was to a place called Stranda, Strnda. It is like a ski resort area, and I think they call it like Stranda Fillet or Fillet. It's like fjord, but then it says Illet at the end. And, maybe we could have been proper podcasters and looked up the way to say it, but we're not going to do that. And it sounded cool because it was like you take a ferry and you take a bus, and I love a good and then you take a Skyliner, which was the exact Skyliner from Walt Disney World. They're all from Switzerland. It is Switzerland. Yeah, it was the same. So they're all the same, and it was the literal same Skyliner.
Yep. Aside from no decorative Mickey or Minnie
and different descriptions, like different warning labels. Like, we love a good warning label, and theirs was different and still amusing. And I
thought overall it was good.
It was good.
The ferry was kind of fun. The first ferry, at least, was really cool.
Ferries were amazing because on the second ferry, we got to like see out and have the air. So, people, we take this bus. The bus goes on the ferry. That was just like astounding to us. And it was a huge ferry. There were multiple buses and then a bunch of other vehicles. So you take this ferry across. And really the tour is kind of expensive, but we did watch for the pricing, and I know that we got like a significant sale versus what it could have been. Like over $500 savings from what you read, the list price versus what we paid. But you imagine how much they're paying for a ferry for 40 people to get across. So we take like this big ferry. The first ferry was bigger. The second ferry was smaller. But they have like a store, like a self-pay. You can get a cappuccino or you can get snacks.
Blakey got Pringles.
There were bathrooms. He
had seen Pringles at this other thing yesterday and then became obsessed with them. So we bought him a little can of Pringles.
And they were cheaper today. And then, and yesterday on the hike, you got a waffle.
Yes.
That you guys loved. And then today, you take this ferry across, you go up to this mountain that you get to by gondola. You walked around. Blake played in the snow.
Yep.
That was fun. He and I made a snowman. It was the tiniest snowman, sort of very much
reminiscent of the Alaska trip where you made a snowman on a glacier.
Yes. This time I didn't have gloves, so I participated a little bit, but it was really cold to make the snow. The rest, it was pleasant up there. Yeah. It was really nice.
Very nice. And
beautiful view.
Jinx.
Okay. Beautiful, beautiful. We took some pictures and then we ride the Skyliner back down. And then they had like a coffee break where you guys got another waffle.
Which, let me tell you, they had Norwegian sour cream and they had the strawberry jam both yesterday and today. I didn't do the sour cream, but the strawberry jam was amazing. Oh, and we have
a snippet that we're going to throw in from the mountaintop from today's mountaintop that we're going to insert. So let me insert that.
Hello.
So we were in like Stranda Fjord. Something. And we, as part of our tour, like we're waiting for this ferry right now, but we went up a gondola like the Disney Skyliner. It was literally the same.
Just like it.
It was the same as the Disney Skyliner.
Yeah.
So we took a bus and we took the bus to a ferry and the bus goes on the ferry, which is fascinating. And then we took
the gondola.
We took the bus back to where the gondola is at the top of this mountain. And now we're taking the ferry back. And we are at the same spot that you could see from
the mountain.
The mountain. This has been the best trip ever.
This has been incredible.
And that's our bus saying it's time to go. So we'll report back later. You get to hear us from the top of the mountain. But the snack from today was nice, and they actually had a gluten-free snack, so I got to have a snack. And then we took the ferry back. Oh, we also stopped, I don't remember if this was before or after, but like to a lookout, which was at the bottom of the lake that we actually saw from the top of the lake or top of the mountain. You like look down.
That was where we were waiting for the ferry, I think. That same place.
Well, also the second,
yeah, because the ferry and then they both were on that same lake.
Same lake. So I showed some pictures on my Instagram post. You can look that up. And then maybe when we do the show notes officially for this show, I can put some of those in as well. And so it was fine. It was good.
Yeah,
it was good. We had no fitness.
None. I don't know if it was worth the full list price that they had it for, but
I don't know if it was even worth that.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was fine. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
We needed to do something.
We got to see some beautiful scenery.
Yeah. The bus rides have been really good too, educational about the place. I did take a little nap today, but the bus ride was long. Mm-hmm. And there was a ferry, like it was a lot of transportation, which leads to the price. That's what you're paying for too, is getting all the way out there.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was fun. It was a good day, and we had no fitness required.
None.
Which we needed to have no fitness because we were tired.
Because getting on and off that bus was fitness enough today.
Yes. No, that bus was really high.
It was.
It's fine though. That's it, I think. So, we went to the casino.
I lost 20.
Christy
broke even.
At 20.
Yeah.
Like we played for a while. And so I still have my $20. And that's fun. And remember, a celebrities casino does not have smoking. And maybe let's just talk about this for a second. The elephant in the room. We're not going to really talk about this for real right now. But celebrity versus Disney, I mean, they're very different. I'm not going to lie. I like how quiet it is.
Yeah.
It's different, of course. But
I miss some of the Disney touches. I miss like when you open your door and you have the Disney music playing in the hallway.
Love the Disney music.
And the decor and decorations. But there's something to be said for a very quiet dinner atmosphere.
And it's quiet everywhere on the ship.
Yes.
Like they have lots of live music and they have lots going on. But the only time we are ever in like there's a bunch of people is the theater, and we're going to go to the theater hopefully on the last night because there's some show that everybody says we should go to. It's like the best they say celebrity has. So hopefully we're going to pack and be able to go to that. And then so at the theater, right, you see the people. But then also at the buffet, man, that buffet, like it's like Thunderdome getting a table.
Yeah. It's really, really hard.
Besides that, there's no people.
Yeah, it just feels very subdued and
quiet.
Yeah. I think it's Disney, there's still a place in our hearts for Disney and definitely Disney cruises and all that. But I think you go into it with two different trips.
Right.
I also think I kind of feel like doing a cruise like this where you're go, having a quiet ship to come back to.
Oh, that's so nice.
Is so nice. Whereas Disney, you're in the Caribbean, you kind of go out, maybe you go to a beach, you don't mind as much coming back to the noise and the whatever. You can kind of deal with it more, I feel like.
But nobody's like running in the hallways. Yeah. No one's jumping on the stairs because there's like, we need to figure out how many kids are on board. We need to ask.
Yeah.
But there's very many.
Very few.
And for Blake, so he turned 12 on this trip. And so he is still in the younger kids club. And that works for him. Mm-hmm. He fits in well there. He is always like skewed younger. And they have activities of just the 10 to 12s. And then sometimes they bring all of the kids in the kids club together, or at least many of them or whatever.
Yeah.
And we went down there and he was doing a silent disco tonight. And he's having a great time. He is wanting to stay there until they close or we tell him he has to come home every night. So like this has been really good for this trip for him.
Getting a little independence, but also still having that young experience. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. And so like if he had to do the teen programming, which I still need to get, we need to remember, I need to get the sort of schedule for the teen programming so I can share that. But this has been good.
Yeah. Yep, definitely.
So that's it.
Oh, one thing we forgot to mention. The fun thing we did after after lunch and we got back off the ship. And we had the fun...
the Alesund Pride.
Alesund Pride Parade and Festival.
So there's flags, like there's a military boat and right across from the ship. And on the military boat was the Pride flag. So we were like, I love this.
Yes.
And then there was like a Pride festival that we went to. And it was funny because it was kind of sleepy when we got there, but there were still these booths set up. So then, and we walked around and, happy Pride to everybody. And it was great. And then we walked around the closer area to the port and we were walking back and we heard the parade.
Yep.
And so then we sat and got to cheer that on. And that was so wonderful and fun.
It was great seeing everyone was just kind of just smiling and happy and just
so much happiness.
So much just joy and welcoming to anyone who wanted to just cheer along.
Yeah, it was great.
It was really wonderful.
So wonderful. And there was a guy in the elevator that when we were coming back up to the room, and I will say we've taken the stairs a lot. And Steve, we have been very pro stairs.
Yes.
But today we were not as
After
pro.
nearly dying yesterday, we figured we've done enough stairs for a little bit.
Yeah, I needed to give
my
knees a break and my legs a break for the stairs.
Yes.
But there was a guy that he walked in the parade and it was just, it's been really nice. So
it was really cool. Really cool.
Yay. So happy Pride
to
everybody.
Our own way of celebrating Saturday, June 14th.
Yes.
Our own special way.
Our own wonderful way. Okay. So I think that's it now. And let us know if you have any questions and we'll report back. Well, at least we'll have one more snippet. At least, if not two. Maybe we'll do
a couple. We can probably do a couple.
Yeah. But then, anyway, we're almost done with this cruise. Okay, bye. I can't stop you. You're still here because I can't make this go away. Hello.
Hello.
From Father's Day. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. Thank you. Happy Father's Day for all the fathers.
I tried to kill you on Father's Day.
This is Blake. Yes, it is Father's Day, and she tried to kill both of us.
What did we do today?
We hiked up a mountain. We don't know which mountain it is.
Himakama?
Maybe.
No.
You have no idea.
But so we climbed this mountain and the description, stop reading the descriptions, Christy. The description said it was good. The description said it would be a moderate hike. They were liars.
Because yesterday was also moderate.
And we walked straight.
Yeah, we walked from a bus to...
We walked straight on gravel.
Outside. That's it. But this was very steep. No, there weren't any stairs. But it was very steep.
Very steep.
Thankfully, there weren't any stairs.
Yeah.
But we did it.
We didn't die.
We didn't die. And it was amazing up there.
It was the coolest thing
It
ever.
was the coolest. Also, the scariest.
Yeah, it was a bit scary, actually. I was eating my lunch, and there was there was a bench to sit on. So I sat on the bench to eat my lunch. They had you pack a lunch. Oh, and by the way, for those that know me, I had purse eggs, and that was a good thing because otherwise my sandwich was going to be vegetables. So they did say, as the guide as we're going up, that it's basically a steep incline, and they were correct.
Yeah,
we did it though.
We did.
We were like fitness people.
We were very fitness. Not quite as fitness as the woman who had the 2-year-old on her back and was climbing up. But we were fitness.
Or the dude that ended an hour before us, standing behind us with all his muscles. But we did it. Oh my God, though. It was so cool. And I will say that when we got to the bottom and to the road, I cried because I was so grateful that A, we didn't quit and that we finished, but that also we didn't die.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the hike to Mini Tuna, maybe?
Oh, maybe.
Something like that. I don't know. We'll get you the name and we'll put it in the next time we do a snippet. And the elevation was just under 1,200 feet of climb, and then we had to come back down.
Yeah.
It was very pretty from up there, though. The pictures are the most amazing thing you've ever seen in your life.
Very incredible.
I mean, maybe you've seen something more amazing, but it was very amazing.
It's hard to beat, especially because they had that little ledge you could go up on and take pictures, and it's like being on top of the world for sure.
The ledge was also quite scary.
Was it?
Yeah, we took a photo. I took a photo up there, and then I walked away nope, no, never again. And then, of course, minutes later, I went back up to take a video.
Yep.
We need to take another photo. Okay, so I think that's it for this.
Yeah.
It was
now
very
we're just
cool.
waiting for the rest of the people to come down and then head back to the ship.
Yep, we're like an hour away. And it's so funny if they make it down. You guys were so stupid because our ship was in this very flat shipyard place. And we're like, maybe this will be a moderate hike. There's nothing mountainous here. And then we drove to the mountains.
We drove for an hour and the mountains just appeared. And we're like, oh.
And then just the walk to get to the start of the walk was such an incline. That was on a road at least. And you walked by a cemetery and we're like, is this where we go when we don't make it? Do they put the people here? But anyway.
We joked that it was very reassuring. That's what we joked.
Yeah. So that's it. We did it.
We did it. Good job, honey. Good job, family.
Good job. All right. Bye-bye. Hi.
Hello.
So this is really, you're going to adjust your spot
Always,
after.
every time.
Well, we're going to start over.
No, yeah, keep it in. Yeah, leave it in. This is behind the curtain. This is how how sausage is made.
Is this what happens when you're 15 days into a trip?
Yep.
So we just re-listened to the snippet that you've heard from our hike. And it's still amazing to me what we did yesterday.
Yeah. It's
especially, I cut you off.
It's fine. No, go for it.
Especially because after the first hike, we were like, never again should we do this to ourselves. And yet we did a worse hike, in my opinion, 2 days later.
Yeah. But I almost think the payoff was even better because I think the view and the experience at the top was which was hard to beat that first one.
It was 1,000,000% better.
Yeah.
These pictures, are kind of worth almost dying. We didn't almost die, but
it's a little melodramatic. But there are thoughts that enter your head as you're putting one foot in front of the other on a gravelly 50-degree incline path.
You know what's interesting too about this hike, and guys, it won't be a 20-minute recap about the hiking.
It might be. Let's be honest.
maybe it will be because it's just that cool of an experience. But as we were going up, and at one point we were like, God, we're about halfway done. Can we possibly do this for another half hour or so? And then all of a sudden, like we rounded this corner, like we just went up, rounded a corner, and then we could see the people cheering and being excited at the end. Like there was trees and stuff, so you couldn't really see them, but you could see them. And so it was all of a sudden you were going to be done.
Yeah.
And I guess that's what running long distances or any of those things are like. It's like all of a sudden
you're there.
You've done the thing that you didn't think you could possibly do.
Yeah.
This was steep. And you know what? I just had a thought. I want to say one other thing. So we booked it through the cruise line, and there was a group of people that basically arrived at the same time we did and left at the same time or finished around the same time. Maybe it didn't matter. It was about the same time. And they had like a guide. But you said their guide was like a student teacher or a teacher or something.
I feel like this was like a summer job for a student. It felt like her summer job as a student.
And there could be a lot of summer job people, right, like in Alaska and it's all these summer job things. But our guide had a pack on that you assume had every first aid and emergency item that anybody in the whole world could ever need. Like his pack was like 2.5 feet high by 1.5 feet or something, like a whole huge hiking pack. And so, yes, did we pay more with Celebrity? Yes, we did. But probably, I assume, I don't know. Like you could have done it through Get Your Guide. And I do have a link if anybody wants to use Get Your Guide for other tours, but we could talk about that in a little bit. Some things because our neighbors at the table at dinner used them and shared some of their experiences. But like our guide was prepared, I feel like, for any
contingency.
Yes. And that to me was reassuring.
Yeah.
Especially when we had our 12-year-old with us climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
The guide, we finished the hike and the guide goes, "What, you say it better."
Is it I don't think you are hikers, but you did very well today. I get the sense you're not hikers.
We're like, no, we don't hike. This is our like second hike.
But you weren't first because there was a woman that was
there was hiker lady.
She was gone in a flash. But we also weren't last. He's like, you guys were right in the middle, and he kept reminding people. He's like,
you have to go slow.
Go slow. Take your time. And I almost feel like, and I don't know if Celebrity's purposely doing it or just the nature of when you pay money and you get good guides who, like you said, have the pack and all that, also has a look of a grizzled mountain man that, if in a pinch, he could whittle you a splint for your broken leg and carry you down the mountain.
For real.
It's like, but they just, they were local and they were like mountain men. And so it was really a great experience.
The first hike we had, though, those guides were from Italy. I don't know exactly
Massimo, and I forget what the other guy's name was, but yeah, they were
friends
Italy.
Or something from Italy. But, they did a great job too, ish. What's interesting is for both of the hikes on the way down, we weren't by anybody.
No.
Not a person. And that was maybe not reassuring, except that in both cases, the guides were behind us still. Yeah. There was a guide behind us.
They always had at least one guide who would bring up the rear and make sure he was the last person down to
make sure everybody, swoop them up.
And there were people that noped out of both hikes. Like on the first hike and the second hike, they got to as far as they could go and said, I've had my experience. I'm going to either stop here and wait for everyone to come back or just go back to wherever the base was.
Yep. Somebody took a pretty good fall on the first hike.
Right, yeah, had a bloody nose, I think, right?
That was a different person.
That was a shin or something, yeah.
But
experience was amazing.
Coolest experience. And then you get up there and this picture, like First of all,
Words
this would
cannot describe really.
never be legal in the United States.
No,
Because
no waiver was signed.
and it's just like a cliff to your death. Like, literally, I had thought about it at one point. What would happen?
Yeah. I don't know.
Thank God we don't have to
Yeah.
know. But, like, yeah.
I think the telling was there was a one woman who was like doing yoga up on this rocky cliff, and you'll see when Christy shares the pictures how amazing that would be. And she said, I had a thought to do a handstand and just decided against it. We're like, yeah, that was probably a good idea, not
Yeah.
to do a handstand on a cliff at the edge of the world.
And what was fun too is these hikes really brought people together. I feel like just I don't know.
Well, everyone was encouraging. Everyone
Yes.
was like, you're almost there, you can do it. And even coming back, there would be people behind us who maybe could have gone faster than us, and they said, "Oh no, I'm good. I'm going my pace. You can just keep going." They were just in different cultures and everything, and everyone was just very supportive. It was great.
Yeah. So,
food-wise, we were glad we brought our
backpack
ship food.
Yeah. Which, a couple of people will say, can you bring food off the ship? Probably not. I don't know. The one thing about Celebrity is I don't ever think they've announced it, but they do have their Celebrity Today, their like daily activities, and I'm sure there's rules about it. But the reality is that we had to eat. And you can't do that length of fitness without eat. That's the other thing. In the future, when I stupidly sign us up for hikes, I will bring electrolytes, and I will also bring like energy chews, like I would chew while running, because I feel like both days, maybe the first day more than the second day, we would have benefited from it.
Yeah, we burned a lot of sugars doing that, and that would have helped.
Yeah.
Especially because then you ended up with like a headache, I think, the next day or later that day. And it's like, I think that would have helped alleviate that.
Yep. So definitely like bring your electrolytes so you can plan accordingly.
Yeah, it's just so people know, like the quote unquote, I guess, traditional Norwegian lunch that they gave us was a bag that had a apple, chocolate bar, which actually was like one of the best. It was basically a Kit Kat. It was a Norwegian Kit Kat. It was very good.
People were like in love
with it.
It
was really, really tasty. Better quality chocolate than home. So, but then the sandwich, which for us was a
huge
really big hoagie, but it was a shrimp hoagie.
It was just filled with shrimp.
Not even like battered shrimp. It was just basically like almost looked like raw shrimp. It was sure it was cooked, but it was like raw shrimp, basically.
Cold shrimp. Tons of it.
Which you gave away to the bus drivers and stuff, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I'll have it."
They were so excited. And then my sandwich on gluten-free bread also apparently was vegan and was vegetables on bread.
Yeah.
So we had our purse. I had purse sides. Dave had purse. And we didn't have a purse, but you get my point.
Purse pizza.
They had pizza, and we had gotten it the night before at the buffet. We had a Ziploc bag. So I would just recommend, if you're going to potentially need purse food, to bring Ziplocs yourself. And actually, this room comes with a butler, and the butler actually brought us some Ziploc bags, which now we will use to take on the airplane to fly home, because again, Dave and Blake will not eat the airplane food more than likely. So we need to like find a pizza and put it in a bag and, take it so that they have food to eat for the 9-hour flight home or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess I would look into that and maybe ask questions, especially if you have picky eaters, because that was such a long tour. And none of these tours ended on time. Not one single tour that we did in Norway ended on time. So that would just be another thing I would keep in mind, is that you need to have a longer period of time allocated for what you did.
This basically went from 8:45 until like 2:45. It was like 6 hours basically.
Yeah, was it longer than that?
No, I think we got back just before 3, and then we got on.
Oh,
and then
right,
you got back off at like 3:30.
Got a quick room service sandwich of the best turkey sandwich that I may have ever had in my whole life. Man, they made that well.
But one tip was, which you did, and then the other people who also had dietary restrictions did not do, was Christy went up to double check with, I think you went to, because we were concierge, so you went to the concierge people and just really reassured or reaffirmed that she had a gluten allergy and needed a gluten-free food or pack on this thing.
And to tell us that they weren't going to be able to provide gluten-free food for me. Now, at that, and they did. They had food for me. Yeah. They had food for another gluten-free lady.
But it was there.
Yeah, right? It would have been vegetables on bread. I'm not sure that's food to climb a mountain with. And then I couldn't eat the chocolate bar because it had wheat in it. And the lady next to me, and we were sitting on this random bench on the mountain with a cliff that literally dropped off. That was like 2 feet in front of me. That cliff made me really nervous, actually, once I started analyzing the cliff. But she also had a gluten allergy restriction, whatever. And I was looking at the chocolate bar because I was getting excited to be able to eat it. And I was like, oh, this is wheat. We can't eat this. So.
But there were other hikers who were vegan
who seemed to get nothing.
And they seemed to get nothing because I feel like they probably put in the request through the people like you did, but then didn't bother to reaffirm and make sure it was made clear that they needed this. So they just did not have another vegan meal in the mix. They basically just picked out the apples from the packs that were provided and just, the water and the apple, and that was it. So it's important just to reaffirm it.
Afterward, somebody went and got food apparently for them because it was through the cruise line or whatever. But then
by that point, you're done with the hike. I think
it was, they got them yogurt and they were vegan, so that didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
Who knows really what happened, but whatever.
Yeah.
I guess if you're vegan, though, I would make sure you have something to eat.
Yeah.
The other thing is that the location there, which we forgot to clarify that with Celebrity, but the location there had paid for toilets. So you're on this bus for an hour, and then you get this parking lot, which I feel like it was to a grocery store.
I think so.
And this parking lot, which is at the base-ish of the mountain, minus once you walk past a church and a cemetery and all that, and up a hill, you had to pay $2.50, I think, to use bathroom, and they only take credit card. And so, and they don't take American Express. So just be prepared for something like that. But to me, if I'm paying for an excursion through Celebrity, I should have a place to be. Especially when it's an hour-long drive to get to and from the hike.
Yeah.
Okay, so
the other thing that I would say, and not related to our hike, and this is just a good thing that we found from the people that we end up sitting next to at dinner each night, is it's also very important if you're looking at in Europe
independent tours or
even through Celebrity, because I heard this happen with Celebrity people too. On a Sunday, Europe is very strict about, especially Norway, is very strict about things are just closed.
Right.
And so there were a lot of excursions where there were some that were independent, where people were going to go to a museum. They show up, the whole bunch, 20 people showed up to a museum, and the museum's closed.
And then there was also the church they were supposed to go to
but
was
that's closed for services. So, and the couple that we sat next to at dinner, they said that theirs still went. It was a Celebrity tour.
No, it wasn't Celebrity.
I think.
It was.
Okay.
They did all private tours.
Okay. So they went into town, and it was basically just explore it. But there was one cafe that was open, and everything else was closed.
And you needed to have a reservation to eat there, and their tour didn't book the reservation.
And they had 45 minutes. So I think it's a case where if you are having a port day that's a Sunday in Europe, especially, just double check with people that there's actually things to do.
Right.
If it's not a hike or the hike was totally fine because it was.
Literally, there's
nature.
Not a real, there's nobody organizing anything on these hikes. There isn't a person at the base with the ticket. There's literally nobody.
Yeah, it's just your guide saying, all right.
And if you have a guide, you take the guide takes you up and gets you past the gates and the cows.
The charging cows.
The charging cows. There's cows on a mountain. You literally walked by the cows in both hikes.
Yep.
Hey, Europe. Yeah, so make sure the stuff's open because we must have had last Sunday another port day,
Yeah, I'm
and
trying
it
to
was an
remember where we
issue
were.
where some things were closed again. So yeah, just keep that in mind.
Yep. So then we got back, and you popped back out real quick to go to the little store just to see if they had anything.
Yeah, we got an
Good to
ornament
You got an ornament.
and some stickers.
Yep.
Because I got a sticker of the place that we hiked that I could
Right.
put on my laptop,
Right.
which I'm very excited about. So the cruise is done.
Yep.
We did go to the show today. Today was a sea day. We really did almost nothing. We packed.
We took Blake down to do knitting. With the knitting group.
So that was almost 2 hours
Yeah.
of sitting down there. But there was this, celebrity people, there's a Facebook group. People put in the Facebook group, hey, we're going to knit. And they did this 4 times during the cruise. And we couldn't make it. The one day he was still sleeping and he wanted to learn to knit. And so the one day he was still sleeping and I don't remember, but the other days I think we were on excursions or something. And so finally it worked out to take him today. And there was one lady who was super supportive and chatty, but I don't think she really knew how to knit.
Mm-hmm.
And then another lady just stepped in and gave him very specific directions. She actually gave him a how do you say it?
A skein of yarn.
And it was so cute to watch.
Cute. He became
He literally was
grandkid
there for 2 hours.
He brought down the average age by about 50 years, but they loved it. They're like, he's going to join us. And it was this whole thing. And so they loved teaching him. And he was just paying attention and trying, look, I did it. Tried several times.
Is this right?
And she's like, okay, do it again.
Yeah.
Do it again.
She's like, let's see if you could do it quicker. It was just so cute.
It was so cute.
And then there was this other lady that was there and she was giving us YouTube people to look up for him for knitting and crocheting.
And kinds of needles to look for.
It was so sweet.
And we just got to sit and enjoy.
Yeah,
we were just playing on our phones and chatting with the people and just watching our boy have fun.
Yeah, we had to talk to people. It wasn't a have to. We talked to people.
We talked to people.
And so, yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
And we ate. The eating, because of the gluten, takes longer.
It does.
And if we're going to do a sit-down meal, it takes longer. So the eating has taken a longer time. And that's fine. We did the show tonight. It was documentary in the stage. The movement of some set pieces were cool. And the music was fine.
Mm-hmm.
Was
the choice of songs was good. But
yeah, the choice of songs was
the
good.
performance, you're on a cruise ship, so it was good.
Yeah. And then there was a jewelry or a drawing to win.
And we
money.
did not win.
We didn't win.
No.
We stood
there.
Yeah. And Blake's at the kids club. He has been at the kids club every night. So what's interesting is it occurred to me that Celebrity was going to put this class of ship, and it was this ship, at Port Canaveral starting in the fall, late fall, around Thanksgiving or something. And I was like, oh, Blake has really been loving the kids club, and he would stay in this kids club age group until his birthday next year. And so we had spring break booked on Disney, but we're doing the same cruise over Christmas, and it's not like that's a problem. We love Disney. And then we have 2 Disney cruises next summer because we have the podcast cruise. You guys reach out if you'd like to join us. We'd love to have you join us for the podcast cruise in July. But then, and I have a work cruise, another with somebody else in May. And then we have our summer vacation on Disney in June. So I was like, we could go on Celebrity again. This has been really nice. It'll be different because we didn't do as many excursions, or we didn't do as many activities on the ship because we did a ton of excursions. And our excursions were so many hours and they were exhausting. And I would take naps on some of the other days and just stuff like that. And, I had a little bit of work and just little stuff to do. Also, I'd like to know where this sailboat that's in front of us came from
I know,
because
it
it's
just appeared.
very small and it is just in our horizon. But back to the cruise. So we asked Blake and he said without a doubt celebrity. And then we
Yeah.
went through like the plans and do you want to be gone a whole week? And blah, blah. He's like, yeah, I want to do celebrity.
Yeah.
So right now he is in a prime age for celebrity.
I think the key for him was the fact that we were mixing and matching because we said, we are doing the fantasy over Christmas, and then this would be then either the fantasy again or this ship. He's like, oh yeah, let's do the celebrity. So I think if it had not been for Disney, he might have leaned towards saying the fantasy. But yeah, I think he's a kid who likes his celebrity experience.
Yep, and we've enjoyed it.
Yes. Well, and you were saying earlier, it's like every time we come on a celebrity ship, we're like, we need to book another one.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time.
Yeah, for us, and we're going to talk about this because one of our Patreon members was like, what is the entertainment like? And so I think I'm going to record with Lake. Maybe you're going to be there. I'm not sure yet. But I'm going to record with Lake this week. And I think we're going to talk about more of some of the activities. I'm also going to post it on my social media, at least like some of the Celebrity Today activity sheets as well, so that people can see what there is. There's tons of stuff offered. It's just a matter of whether you want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll talk about it with Lake a little bit. Plus, I want to review the schedules a little bit more. Like the one day they had archery in the club. Like they do a bunch of stuff like that. It's different too because this is such a cold cruise.
Yeah.
Like out on deck during the day when the sun was out, it was a little bit like people were sitting on deck and people were playing ping pong. But like the first half of the cruise was freezing. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't a lot of deck activity. There was no deck activity, like except for when we were freezing watching the volleyball or when they jumped in for like swimming during the Arctic crossing type of deal. But like up at the top, they have lawn games and they might not, they don't have a lawn on the ship, but in some other ones. But they have like
the sports deck. We don't really have
it's not a sports deck either. It's games that could be on a lawn that's not on a lawn, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like giant Jenga and beanbag toss and just stuff like that. Like they have stuff like that.
Some of which I saw they actually moved some of those, especially on the cold days, into like the club. Like they had the beanbag toss in the club or whatever. So which makes sense. You're cold.
And that's where they also have archery. And they have archery there always because we've been on Celebrity before and that's where it's been. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it depends. There's tons of live music. Mm-hmm. Like if you like to listen to music, which we love, but I think because our activities were so involved during the day, like we had long excursions, but the point of this cruise was to be in Norway.
Yeah. Which I feel like is like anything European, you're sort of in that mode. Where the point is to go explore Europe and not do the ship. Whereas if you're in the Caribbean, you're going to probably take more advantage of the things happening on the ship.
We are going to 100% do the ship activities.
Music and pub quizzes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I wanted to do trivia, but then we were so late. And because we were doing the snippets, honestly, and look at this snippet was not supposed to be that long. And somehow it's 25 minutes. I don't know. Lake's going to have to edit all these down. It goes public for...
We do multiple days at once.
Yeah, and then we just keep rambling. Are we rambling? Probably a little. But so there was a lot we wanted to do, but we were tired and then we snippeted and then, or if we had to do these hikes and stuff, we had to get ready at night, whatever. It's been busy and I'm excited to come back on the Apex next year to actually do more of this ship because I do really like this class of ship. I like the activities that they offer. For me, I'm okay with it being a little bit sleepier, but there is stuff to do if you want stuff to do. And I do want to experience it. And I don't think we're going to do a lot of excursions on our Caribbean cruise. And if we do, they won't be as involved. So we'll be able to do more ship stuff. So anyway, that's it. We get off tomorrow morning. The food's been really good. Really
good.
really
Great
good.
service.
Yeah, we really like it. And I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Send us your last bit of questions if you're a Patreon, and we can get them posted, or we can talk about them either if we do a last snippet or
A show
with Lake, which we're supposed to record, so that can happen. And tomorrow we have Hercules.
Hercules.
In London, so I'm excited.
And our anniversary.
Oh yeah, why do I keep forgetting that? And I always say every time, "Oh yeah," but this is like the second time I've said that today. I think.
All right.
So yeah,
14 years. 14 years tomorrow.
Aw, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Good night, everyone. Okay, really quick. It's now the three of us. And I just realized that we didn't talk about how much I love this cruise as a whole. I love Norway so much. I love Alaska. I love all the unique places. And frankly, I like just going on a cruise ship and floating around and doing absolutely nothing.
Who doesn't really?
Exactly. But Norway, I think, is my favorite.
It was like
Do I say this about all my kids?
You might. I think
And
it
the
was,
cruises are the kids.
Well, of course. I think it's one of those things where you almost, you didn't know you were missing it until you got here. And you were like, can't believe I was missing this in my life.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And we have to come back, even though we tried to kill ourselves so many times hiking.
It's just the beauty.
Yeah.
It's the raw, just nature of it.
Yeah.
Right.
Pretty much just any place that has a good amount of nature, like natural beauty.
Yeah.
Is amazing. And you should go and visit.
Basically, all of these cities that we went to, not all of them, but were formed because the earth cracked and a fjord was born, basically. Yeah. And then they could put stuff around it, and dynamite would break apart the mountain so they could get to the next place. I mean, are you kidding?
And the people would put farms on a mountain. And then have rope ladders. And then whenever someone came to give them taxes, just pull the ladder up. No taxes needed.
But it is crazy. All the things, it's like you can't see places where nature is saying, you don't belong here. And people are saying, I don't care, we're going to stay.
Right.
It's amazing.
And, I lost my words.
I lost the words.
Pause. Words are hard. I completely lost my train of thought. It's late and I'm tired.
It is late, but you really wanted to focus on the itinerary and how this is an amazing itinerary.
It is an amazing itinerary.
It is. And it's so unique. And every view was more breathtaking than the last. And I used to think Alaska is like that. I still, I would refer to Alaska as majestic. And I believe that is still true. I believe that that's still true. But it's because it's so raw and untouched. Oh, this is what I was going to say. This location is from like the 1600s.
Yes.
And you think about how far back that is, and even before,
and
right?
That's just like the villages. We're talking like the settlements, the original settlements. We're talking thousands of years.
And they literally can go back with whatever, the historians figure out the way, right? To figure out when things, they can go back that far. And what do we have? 270 years or something? I mean, it's just amazing the history that's here and that is in this country, in this region.
Yeah. I mean, it's like for us, we can do similar things, but we have to then go back to, like for you, going back to Ukraine and Malta. And there's breaks in the chain because everyone might emigrated to the US. Here, it's like they have people saying, well, I have Sami blood in me, and that goes back 7,000 years.
And they actually can track it and figure it out or whatever. Like, it's just mind-boggling. And
like everyone there knows where they came from.
Mhm.
We even had a tour guide who said where she lives, no one knows where they came from.
Right, because she came from somewhere, another country. And so, yeah, it's a magical place. It's so beautiful. There are other cities and fjords to go through and other cities to see. And even in the cities, there's other things to do than we've done. And I want to return.
Same.
Yeah,
Tromso,
same.
I don't know if I need to return.
No.
But the thing is I like the idea of Tromso because of where it's located, and the 24 hours of daylight is super cool. But I need to do something different there because
we almost might make that the shopping day because we didn't explore Tromso, the town, at all. So yeah, something different.
right. But otherwise, man, I loved everything. I loved what we did.
There wasn't a port I didn't
Me
like,
too.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And every port had a different view. It was all very different views.
It was all amazing.
So
No matter
anyway,
what you did,
that's
it was
all.
amazing. You got a beautiful view.
Yep.
Okay. Bye again. For real this time.
Well, that's going to wrap up the show. Once again, we want to thank Christy and Dave for recording these snippets during their Celebrity Apex cruise. Once again, we are going to do a question and answer regarding more about this cruise, so feel free to drop those on our Instagram and Facebook posts. But that's going to do it for this show. Thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoy the show, make sure to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We'd also like to thank our Patreons who help make this show happen each and every week for us. You too can help support the show by visiting us at patreon.com/DCL podcast. Whether you're boarding a cruise, enjoying a trip to the parks, or adventuring outside of Disney, on behalf of myself, Christy, and Steve, we want to wish you smooth sailing and safe travels. We'll see you next time on the DCL podcast.